before I talk defense, and this is the next on my Saturday Superlatives, let me mention 100 conference wins for Hall of Fame or future Hall of Fame coach Kirk Ferentz, who, I've been familiar with him since he was an assistant coach. I remember when he was on Hayden Fry's staff, and Hayden Fry is another guy that, had 100 plus conference wins at Iowa. So hats off and congratulations to Coach Ferentz. Now, defense. It makes me happy to still know that people can play defense even in these very challenging times. But I want to really talk about a couple of guys. First of all, Smoke Monday, remember the all-name team. He showed up, and when you have a 100-plus yard pick six, you have to get some love on my Saturday Superlatives. And if Auburn continues to play well, it'll be largely because of their defense. And I'm not trying to take shots at their offense, but they're not the kind of team that should get into a lot of shootouts. They need to avoid that. But he also played well other than that, but that pick six showed out. Akili Arnold at Oregon State, serving notice. That's a guy, I'm just sort of circling him in general. I'm going to come back to him if he continues to play well, but he flashed to me when I was watching them. And once again, we talk about Pac-12 after dark. We almost always talk offense, but there's some guys who are playing defense out there too. I have to give some love to C.J. Brewer. First of all, he's a first-teamer twice now on the all-underappreciated team that Consensus Draft Services compiles. And he just had a monster game against a good Appalachian State offensive line. He had 5 solo tackles. He had 9 assists. He had 3 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, a quarterback hurry. He was everywhere. I mean, if I just kept track of pressures, I'm sure it was well into the double figures as well. Just a monster. He's going to play on Sundays. And Pittsburgh Steelers? Okay, just keep an eye out for him. DeJordan Strong, sticking with Coastal Carolina, terrific game from him. He had a couple solo tackles. He had 2 interceptions. One was sort of an easy one, but one showed you that he could really, anticipate, read the quarterback, and read routes. He had a pick six on one of them. I like this guy, and I'm going to continue to watch him as well. Northwestern as a whole. Patty Fisher, Greg, not McCray, that's, I can't remember, Greg Bell, I think. But all of them, everybody, hats off to all of you. But I have to mention Mr. Joseph. So he had 2 picks. He's had 5 interceptions in 5 games. And everybody's trying to get on the action. Like, they're trying to all get interceptions. They turn the ball over maybe better than anybody in the country. Certainly in the top 2, I think. I have to mention U of I's defense. Once again, Lovie Smith putting a stamp on the team. They had 3 interceptions. They also forced 2 fumbles. They had 3 sacks, 7 tackles for loss against Nebraska. Now, part of it's Nebraska's ineptitude, but University of Illinois' defense, mark my words, it's going to continue to show up as the year goes on. And if they do retain Lovie Smith, and I think they should, I think next year you'll see an even better defense. There's still a lot of young pieces there. Okay. Big guy touchdowns. Once again, automatically qualify you. So Iowa's Davion Nixon had a 71-yard, not 17, kids, 71-yard pick six. When 300-plus pounders go, I think 302, whatever he is, goes 71 yards with a pick six, automatically superlative. And he also had a good day other than that. He had 5 tackles. He had a sack. He had 1.5 tackles for loss. Good game all around, but obviously we love big guy touchdowns. Northwestern, I mentioned you as a whole. I have to mention an individual, Blake Gallagher. What a game. 14 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble, and he was just everywhere. Try to find a frame of film there. He isn't somewhere near the ball. He frankly reminds me of his coach, Pat Fitzgerald, back when he and McGarrigle were out there. Tim McGarrigle were out there terrifying people in the Big Ten. Oklahoma's defense. Another phrase that I didn't think I'd be saying. Oklahoma's defense is one of the most improved defenses I've seen this season. Only allowed 13 points against a very good Oklahoma State team. And if this is how their defense is going to play throughout, they might not lose another game all season. Now, it's probably too late, obviously, for the college football playoffs, but it will position them well. Once again, they're a fairly young team for next season if their defense is indeed solidifies. And hats off to Alex Grinch, who is really, like I said, turned this thing around. Cincinnati's defense as a whole, I have to mention. I just think they're one of the best defenses once again. I mean, Northwestern has great intelligence and scheme and stuff like that, and a couple of really good athletes, don't get me wrong. But at Cincinnati, you have both. You have guys who I think would start for most Power 5 programs at almost every position, and you add to that Marcus Freeman, who is a terrific young D coordinator who I think will be a head coach somewhere soon. But I'm going to mention Davion Beavers in specific amongst that great group. And, James Wiggins, Mike J. Sanders, they're all really, really good. But Beavers had a terrific game. He had 5 solo tackles. He also chimed in with 4 assists. He had 4 tackles for loss and 1.5 sacks. And can move. He's a UConn transfer. And I'm sure I saw him when I was watching UConn, but I just never saw him move like this. I don't know if he's, just more pep in his step because he's surrounded by more talent or what, but that guy showed me something. And then I have to mention Ohio State, once again, as a whole, played up and down, frankly, as a defense, but the steadying factor is their linebacking core. And I think the best of their linebackers, and all of them are good, is Pete Werner, who's probably going to go in the top 25 or so when his time comes. 5 solo tackles. He also had 3 assists. He had a sack and forced a fumble. And he is your modern linebacker. He can play on all 3 downs. So that is defense for my Saturday superlatives.